but will it change the decline of society? I don't think so.
It's gotta fail, like just like the housing market. There's no way. You cannot build your way out of this. You cannot develop your way out of this. It needs to collapse. It needs to reset. It needs to fail. But it's true. Like, we're a nation of renters.
And it's going to get to a point, isn't it, when you think about it, where the government, and I mean, they're already bankrupt now, so this is going to be even way worse in the future. But obviously, if people are just renting, then they can't afford those rents when they retire. So then who picks up the bill for that? It's the government. But the governments are already bankrupt. But I also wanted to say to you, because I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Like, when I was arriving in Canada last year, I forget which airport, like, there was signs, you know how they have those digital signs that are by where you pick up your luggage. And it was all saying, I forget which bank it was, newcomer advantage program. Like, you can get a $10,000 credit card. We'll give you $500. And it's like, it seemed at that moment like all the banks were competing for these newcomers. And now we're looking at like over 1 million people potentially, because who really knows if they're going to leave, or a lot of them are probably going to stay illegal. We don't really know at this point, and the data is so bad that who knows. Over 1 million people are set to leave this year. Like, what is going to happen? I'm sure a lot of people are just going to max out their lines of credit and their credit cards, and I'm not telling people to do this, by the way, but I'm sure a lot of people are going to do that, and they're just going to leave because they're going to places like India, where good luck tracking them down and trying to get that back.
It's true. You know, I had that's like the thing too. That's been happening for a long time in Canada, and you know, you've had a bad experience and you're not planning on returning. You can literally just do that. Credit lines. I knew someone that did that. They were like credit lines, credit cards. They just maxed it all out, bought a bunch of stuff, sold it all, whatever, or kept some of it, but they left, and they left with like 100 grand or 80 grand worth of like cash from the proceeds of it. And they knew, they're like, I'm not coming back, and then whatever. And but this is what like the students will do too, right? There was like a video or something, or an article about some like student, some international student at the airport with like $10,000 cash, ripped it off. But that's like, do you think they're not going to do? Of course they're going to do that. They're going to like, I'm going to get even, you guys, because they were lied to, a lot of these students too, right? They were misled and lied to by their own people, mind you. This was not, you know, the Canadian government. The Canadian government facilitated it, but they didn't actually set up these immigration huts. Like they literally have places in Niagara, like all over the place. Immigration hut, immigration this, and like how do these guys aren't authorized to like, no, it's just like a concierge service to like tell you what to do and tell you what to say to the Canadian government. But of course, you know, they ripped us off on the way in. Like, of course they're going to rip us off on the way out, and of course the banks and everyone's going to be left holding the bill for this at the end of the day. And yeah, so that's just like guaranteed happening. It's already happening. And even their cars, I guess, like I heard, like this was like many months ago, like the tow trucks are busy at Pearson Airport because they just like leave their leased cars at the airport. They just drive them there and just leave. Like, they don't even tell anyone. So they're sitting there for like a month, and then they just pick them up and have to return them or whatever. So, but this is what Canada has become, like this joke of a like fraternity party. Like, let's just go in and have a good time and see what happens. Like, it's sad, but like this is the image we've got. Like, it's not a serious country, and I don't know. Obviously, they're doing it because of, you know, the collapse of the population. Because, you know, I guess at the end of the day, how are you going to survive if the population is decreasing? Like, that's like your society is going to end. So they're just trying to prop it up with, and they don't care. Now they're at the point where the problem is, like, it wasn't that they invited the third world.
This video is brought to you by our sponsor, Plord AI. You know what's outdated? Taking notes by hand. Whether it's meetings, video ideas, or just conversations, I don't waste time note-taking anymore. Instead, I use this, the Plord Note Pin, a hands-free, always ready AI note taker. I also carry around in my wallet now the Plord Note. It's credit card thin, it fits in my wallet, and I can take notes no matter where I am. If I need to capture a conversation or I'm at a conference, it's always on me and it's just in my wallet. And they even have the note pin, which I've recently been using in videos, and the note pin is absolutely fantastic. You just clip it on or you just speak into it directly, and it's great for interviews, it's great for note taking, and it's very discreet. Plord AI transcribes everything I say UK. This is done whilst knowing that my data is protected with Plaud's privacy and data security standards, so you never have to worry about your information being sold. I clip the note to my shirt during videos, record every video, and then after I've done the video, I've got it all transcribed, and if I want, I can then use Ask AI to turn it into video chapters or even a newsletter. It also saves money. Think about it. How much time is wasted taking notes in meetings or whether you're at training courses, and all that time is took away from you actually being present in the moment. If you want to boost your productivity, then check out the link in the description below and make sure to use my promo code. Thanks to Plaud AI for sponsoring this video.
The problem is, like, it wasn't that they invited the third world. Nobody else would come. Like Britain and Ireland and Australia, like they came like along. They're not going to come now. They're like, yeah, let me move to Canada and live with a bunch of third worlders. Like, nobody from the first world is coming here. Like this, it's done. Like, so now, yeah, they have nobody. So then it was like nobody even from from India. Like they're even like, I don't know. It's, you guys, things are expensive over there. So like, hey, students, come. They'll take the international students. Migrants, bring them in. They got no friggin' skills and whatever. We don't care. They'll do something at some point. They just think of them as a human asset of some kind. They don't care how reliant they are. They're like babies. They're like, okay, I got to raise this kid for like 5 years, and then they'll go out and get a job, hopefully. But that the problem is, we see it in the UK, we see it in Ireland, and a lot of these, the percentage of you having a bad seed from these certain countries is like very high. So yeah, you get out of 10 kids, you'll get maybe like 7 that might be somewhat successful or self-sustainable. I mean, you got 3 terrorists running around stabbing people, and we're just behind the curve when it comes to the UK. Like, so like France and all these places, Italy too, right? It's the same thing. Or yeah, you got to watch you don't get stabbed by some angry migrant that never had, they got nothing to lose, and that's what people don't understand. And they have mental health issues, and some of them, and there's all sorts of problems that we just imported. But the government just like didn't care. They're just like, we don't care. We need more people, or else the collapse. The society will collapse, and better to destabilize it first, I guess, and then for it just totally collapse by itself. And even with the housing, so I released a chart last week, and Canada is now like, we always say it, maybe it's clickbait, maybe it's not, but it's true. Like, we're a nation of renters. On the Toronto Real Estate Board, the biggest board by far in Canada, like more than half the listings are on there. There was more leases so far this year than sales. And this is the first year in history. Wow. And they're not building any homes, end user homes for sale. They're not building any, like, the condos are shoeboxes. Like, they're not built for end users to buy. And of course, they're building record rental inventory. So like this like global agenda of everyone's going to rent like they're in Europe or something is like coming true. And it's scary, right? But again, it's not even like this is going to turn around anytime soon. This is going to take a massive crash, the reset of the housing market and society or something, the employment market, for things to play out the way they should. And it will, but the government's been prolonging this, and they keep propping it up, but they're not doing us any favors. You need to like let things run their natural course. You got to have failures, you got to have bankruptcies, developers. We're seeing some developers go bankrupt already, but we need like lots more, because they're not going to be able to build on their land that they've been holding, that they overpaid for. It's just not going to happen. That land needs to be sold off for pennies on the dollar to the next person, and bankruptcies need to happen, and maybe a bank needs to fail. But if that doesn't happen, things will get worse. So that's my opinion, and I think it's the honest truth when you look at situations that we're in right now.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, and you probably saw it as well. But the average home buying age now, I think, is 35 years old, and that's just insane when you think about it. So most people are taking on like a 25 or a 30-year mortgage. Like, you're going to be paying that till what, when you're 60? I mean, that's just absolutely crazy to me.
It's pushing 40. It's pushing 40 right now in Canada as a whole, the average.
So like 70.
Pushing.
Holy shit.
Pushing 40. It was like 35. Like I did like an analysis. Okay, so Canada Convenient doesn't have like accurate numbers for this. So you have to like cite all these sources to try to find out. I got Grok to analyze it. So 30, it jumped quickly over the last, like, from the, I think it was in the 90s, it was like still like high 20s, like 28 or 29 years old. I'm just trying to look for it here. But yeah, it's now pushing 40. Like in 2023 and 2024, it was like 38 and 39. And we're not far off of 40. I just sold someone a house in the region and they were 37 years old in the first house. So
that is just crazy. And the banks, they don't really, well, obviously they're just proving anything. We discussed that already, so they don't even care.
So yeah, in 2024, according to, again, this is not government data. Government doesn't have any data. They're conveniently their census. I don't know. Hopefully it happens, I think next year, this year. Anyway, it's supposed to happen real soon. According to one of the sources, I don't actually have it, but it was like 40 years old in 2024. The average first-time buyer in Canada was, and it was like 39 in 2023. In 1970s, it was 27 to 29, which kind of makes sense, right? But yeah, it's and this is the, of course, a lot of people are younger. Like my region would probably be younger because the houses are more affordable. But in Toronto, like, you know, some people never own, right? And it's so it's over 35. Like it's like once we hit the 2020s and the pandemic and these house prices shot up, like it's well over 35. 35 is like the low end.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's going to get to a point, isn't it, when you think about it, where the government, and I mean, they're already bankrupt now, so this is going to be even way worse in the future. But obviously, if people are just renting, then they can't afford those rents when they retire. So then who picks up the bill for that? It's the government. But the governments are already like bankrupt pretty much anyway. And I mean, it's just unsustainable the way I see it. And what you said there about like 1980, 1990. Like this weekend, I did a whole deep dive into the history of why societies collapse and why they rise and all that shit. Mm-hmm. And one of the main causes, when I was talking to all these AI models, looking at history, reading my Ray Dalio book, I also realized like it's wealth inequality. So a lot of times, like politicians, they'll always like try and blame a certain class of people, immigrants or whatever. In the past, it was racism and all these other things. It's always like a minority group that they try and go and blame. But the reality is that it's those people who are in charge, those elites, those are the actual people that everybody should be blaming. And some people do blame them, but I think too many people have trust in the overall like society that, oh, everything will just work out. Like if we vote this other party in that is very similar, and all the people that they're close to are also all the elite people that the other people were close to. Like, so nothing really changes that much. I mean, I know a lot of people in Canada are clinging to the hope that like conservatives are really going to change the country. And I think like they will do some good things. Don't get me wrong. It will be better than the liberals. I mean, how could you be worse than that? But will it change the decline of society? I don't think so, because when you zoom out and you're not just looking at Canada, you look at the United States and you look how different Trump is to like a lot of leaders, and he tries to separate himself and pretend like he is so different to everybody else, yet everything is kind of the same. He's gone down all this route of immigration. Immigration is the big problem. And immigration has some major problems in Canada and in the US as well. Nobody's denying that. And that's why people get so riled up about it, because it's something they can focus on and blame, but it's not the politicians. So the politicians like that as well. And it was the same in the Roman times. Like you go back all the way to ancient Rome and the Roman Republic, and you look at what happened there. It was all the same shit. People had nothing. All the plebs, as they called them back then, they didn't own their land anymore. They all went to rich elites and they were renting their land back. And then eventually it turned into like the bloodiest war that can be. So like people get pressed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And all these people come by in between who are like, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Nobody does anything. And then it just breaks down completely. And yeah, I'm like quite cynical on it, because I look at Western countries as a whole, like all these countries like France, the UK, Germany, Canada, the United States, Australia, and they're all going down the same path. And people like, oh yeah, this politician, he's gonna really change things this time. And I'm like, okay, good luck with that.
Yeah, they know they need change, and it's just like, that's like, and they live in a democracy supposedly, and it's just like, that's the the easiest solution. And I understand, but yeah, you're right. I think it's going to happen like slowly, so they can just like kill us slowly and torture us, or just like let it happen quick. And nobody wants to be that person that makes it happen quick. And it's like, how do people always think about wars and stuff, but I think like the currency or something, like I think the easiest way would like the currency collapses or something, like, it's because it's instead of like going to war and killing each other. But something needs to happen, but they want, this is just like what they're doing. Just avoid it, right? They're just prolonging the inevitable, and it's going to happen. But I think that most people think that better the way we're going with, like, let's just make this long and slow instead of, quick, like rip it off like a band-aid. But we're at the point where, like, I don't know how things are going to change. I looked at trying to like build a house, like just to like on paper this weekend, just for fun, right? And it's like so expensive, the land's so expensive, and the cost of construction, like there's like no hope, like but if wages doubled overnight, that's terrible. Like that's just as bad, because inflation would rip. So it's like, yeah, you need to like, but again, this is what inflation is. It's a tax on the working class, and the government knows this. So and I think that the only way to get back to any sort of normalcy is just like let the currency needs to collapse. It needs to fail. Something near the banking sector, something financial needs to fail at the big end, at the top of the system, right? And that's how it fixes itself. That's like the immediate solution. But until that happens, we're just gonna, it's just gonna be the next party. Let's vote for this next party. They'll take the HST off the house, and our gasoline won't be $1.40 like it is today. Gas went back up too, right, today. Just sitting around it, but that's it. Like it's gotta fail. Like just like the housing market, there's no way, you cannot build your way out of this. You cannot develop your way out of this. It needs to collapse. It needs to reset. It needs to fail. Something needs to fail. The more it's unfortunate, but and there's all those sayings like, like the biggest learning experiences from your failures, and there's tons of quotes and sayings about that kind of thing, and it's true. Like it sucks, but hopefully it's someone big failing, not the little guys, right? It's like when you see like big developers and banks fail, like that's a good sign. That's the system. It's fixing itself. It's cleansing itself. And until that happens, like that is good news. Like that's why people are cheering. I just read that article last week. They're cheering for the housing market. Like when people are losing money, like, yeah, look at this guy lost $400,000 over here. This is awesome. That's what needs to happen, right? Like, you need to lose. Like there's going to be some innocent victims and poor families, and that's unfortunate. But there's a lot of just greedy speculators and developers and whatever, and they just were blinded, right? But they'll learn a lesson too. They will fail, and they'll be like, I'm not doing that again. And this is what's needed, because when's the last time they learned a lesson? Like most people weren't alive. It was in like the 80s and 90s. Like 2008 was nothing in Canada. Nobody learned a lesson. 2008 was the worst thing for Canada. Ireland failed. UK failed. Freaking USA failed. Like, everyone's failing. What was it? Portugal or Greece was freaking like austerity, and all these people failed, and Canada's like, yeah, we're untouchable because we're just the most amazing people. We're the smartest people, and we can't do anything wrong here. Our prices never went down. This is fantastic. And yeah, now look at us. Like, so we need a huge failure here, and then it'll be better, and you get to rebuild. And from the beginning, it's like sad, but it'll be a new day, a new life when that happens, and people will be able to buy a house. Like, what would you prefer? Keep working and maybe one day be able to buy a house, and you'll be paying through the freaking years for it? Or would you prefer to lose your job, then get another one in a couple of years or a year from now, and you can buy a house for 60% of what they were? Like, obviously, I'll lose my job, give me some tough times, let's rip the band-aid off, let's get this over with, and then I can buy the house for a reasonable price. I think most people prefer that, and I think most people are actually cheering for that. I talked to a lot of people, and they are cheering for lower prices and slower times, and to get over this economic fiasco that we're in right now in Canada, and in many other places too. But it's just, that's what happens when the people meet in Davos and they get their agendas together. They this is what they're doing. They're like, okay, let's build some rental properties, like, the rental, that's going to be an interesting one too. Like when these rental properties are coming online, like I got to see the timeline of when they're complete, but there's going to be a lot of rental properties, and it's going to affect rent prices. Rent prices, I'm going to post today. I haven't even posted it yet, but we're like at 2021 rent price levels, or 2022, depending on what you're looking at. 2019 or 2020, if you look at the average, I'm losing the median because it's better for the rent prices. But and this is in Ontario, so yeah, we're seeing rent prices decrease like consistently now. I think they peaked in 2022 or 2023, and they've been going down for the last 2-3 years. So that's a good sign, right? And there's more rentals coming on. So and again, look, if you look at the cost to rent compared to the cost, the price to rent ratio, like that, it doesn't make sense either, right? Like, why would you buy? Like, you can rent for like, 60%. Again, it's that 60% number. It's almost like, yeah, you can rent for a lot less. And, but you'll see that ownership, the cost of ownership come closer to that too. And it's going to take some big movements in the market to get there. But that's why we need these tragic financial events to happen. And very shortly.
Yeah, well, yeah. You look at what happened with a place like Argentina, and now it finally looks like it's turning a corner. But yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And I think that really people should look at renting. I think there's a big stigma attached to renting that a lot of people don't like. And I know Hilliard, he talks about this a lot as well. He's like, there shouldn't be a stigma, and like people shouldn't put these conditions. Like, a lot of people get these gifted down payments. Well, he's always like, why is it just for a house? Like, why can't it be they can get an advisor and invest that money? Like, why does it just have to be towards real estate? And it's like this one trick pony for wealth creation in Canada for the past 20 years, but it's not going to work forever. Like, if you did that between 1980 and 2000, like, good luck. You would have been really screwed, and the volatility as well.
Yeah, I think that the problem in Canada with renting is you have no security, because they're not, most rentals, especially, like, there really is no purpose. Like, there's maybe some townhouses in certain places, but like, you're renting a townhouse that was always considered like below like middle class or like subpar for, your identity and your class or your status in society, or an apartment. So like they need like better purpose-built rentals, or better quality ones, which they're building them, but a lot of apartments and stuff like that. But and that's the thing, it's all private ownership, and then they want it. And most people that I say, like, when you talk about long-term rentals, they're like, well, the owner's just going to sell it one day, and I'm going to have to go find another place. So there's no security for families in like a house or some sort of single family setup. And that's the issue with Canada. Or now you're going to be probably stuck in a stacked townhouse or something. And again, it seems like you're living in the ghetto, or like that's the proposition. Like, hey, you can rent, go live in the ghetto here, or like rent with somebody else living in the basement of some single family. Like, it's just not appealing at all. And it's unfortunate, but and I don't know how that's, because I know that the rentals, I haven't, like, not one thing I heard, oh, someone's building a whole neighborhood of detached purpose-built rentals. Like, it's not going to happen, right? When you look at, like, use Europe for an example, like Europe, like, renting is very common, but like, you're renting like where everyone else rents, and it's like they're like nice, well-maintained places. You don't feel like you're living in low-income housing. Where in Canada, if you're renting, you're like stuffed in there with whoever else that's renting in there. So you're just not at the place you want to be, and I think that's the problem. And it's a legitimate problem that Canadians have with renting. That's why they like to buy. But we'll see in the future how these purpose-built rentals look and how they're managed too, right? Because I've had some nice buildings in my area in Niagara Falls that have been built, purpose-built rentals. But again, getting the thing, like, they're like, some senior lady moved into one because she wanted another building that was more established, but she had to move into this one. She's like, oh, the hallway stinks like pot all day long. Like, so you're just getting like this. It's so invasive. And but they are getting better because they're becoming more common. But I think it'll take a while.
No, I know a lot of these rental buildings, even these nice condo buildings. I mean, we lived in a nice condo building in Toronto way back nearly a decade ago. And that condo building, there was like lots of people still doing drugs, and, there was crazy crap that was going on there. And you just wouldn't think it would go on there, but just so many units in that building were rentals, and people just didn't give a fuck. And it was also like a conveyor belt of people just coming through. But yeah, it's absolutely insane. So John, are there any final thoughts that you have for the viewers here?
I think that again, the advice I give to most people is, if you are I guess, buying a house, like just expect that you're going to lose money in the short term. Like it's going to go down, and that's just part of what's going on in the cycle. So yeah, don't just think that real estate always goes up. Now it's a pretty much given, like anywhere in Canada, like within a year or two, your house will be worth less when you buy it. So just, I guess, pencil that into your equation before you sign on the dotted line.
You heard the man, and I want to thank you so much for watching, and also check out John on X, check out his YouTube channel. Links are in the description. I know many of you follow him. If you want to boost your productivity, then check out the link in the description below and make sure to use my promo code. Thanks to Claude AI for sponsoring this video.